Hey, what's going on, guys? It's HawksNest here, back with another COD mobile video. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the FMJ attachment. Now, what FMJ stands for is Full Metal Jacket, which essentially means an upgrade to your gun's bullets. And you can use it with assault rifles, LMGs, snipers, SMGs, and pistols. Now, the quick summary of what this attachment does is it increases your material penetration. So basically what this means is when you shoot through a wall and hit someone, you're gonna do more damage if you have an FMJ than if you did that same shot without an FMJ. A big misconception is that the FMJ actually adds damage to your gun. Now, this isn't true. The FMJ does not actually increase your gun's damage. It only increases your gun's damage when you're actually shooting through a wall. Now, I say we're shooting through a wall, but I also mean shooting through basically any materials that you can shoot through. So this includes shooting through enemy players, shooting through walls, shooting through floors, shooting through like bushes, shooting through haystacks, things like that. And FMJ is going to increase your damage when it actually passes through that object. So I've spent a couple days actually researching the FMJ to fully understand that, as well as wall penetration, and I have a couple things to share with you guys, and then we're going to actually look at like how the FMJ impacts weapons. And with that information, you're actually going to be able to decide if the FMJ is a attachment that is worth it to use. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is a couple things that I actually discovered and want to share with you guys. The first thing is the thing that I already said, and that is that FMJ does not add damage to your weapon. So when you're actually just shooting someone straight up, if you have an FMJ, you're not going to do any more damage than if you didn't have the FMJ. However, what the FMJ does do is that it increases your object penetration, which I already kind of explained. Another thing is I've yet to find an object that you can't wallbang, and then when you put an FMJ on, you can wallbang it. I haven't found a single thing that is like that. Although you do more damage when you shoot through these objects if you do have an FMJ on. I also discovered that the FMJ does not allow you to collateral more people. So with the FMJ on a sniper or without the FMJ, you can only kill 4 people at once with a sniper. And this is the exact same if you have the FMJ or don't have the FMJ. 4 people is the max. One thing the FMJ does do though is it increases the collateral damage. So basically what I mean by that is if you shoot through someone and then the bullet hits the person behind that person, you're gonna do more damage if you have an FMJ. So for example, you have player 1, right, and then player 2 behind them. If you shoot through player 1 and then the bullet flies through and hits player 2, you're going to do more damage if your weapon has an FMJ. Another thing is there's different levels of materials in COD Mobile, and basically the bullet damage reduction is different per material. So some of the materials that I actually discovered is like a person is the lowest level of material, so your bullets will like fly through them basically really easy. And then after that is light materials, and then I found semi-light materials, and then medium materials, heavy materials, and then materials that aren't wall bangable at all. No matter what gun you have, no matter FMJ, whatever it is, you can't shoot through those walls. And those are typically things like heavy concrete, metal, stuff like that. We will look more at the different materials and just see how guns do with an FMJ versus without on those materials. But basically all you have to know is that the heavier and thicker the material, the less damage you do when your gun like shoots through it. And once again, the FMJ will increase that damage. Another thing is that different classes of guns have different penetration, and this basically means like, so for example, like an SMG has a very low level of penetration, and then a sniper or LMG has a high percentage. So again, I'll talk more about this soon, but that is something you should know. If you don't understand what I mean, once again, we'll get more into it soon. And then another thing that a lot of people don't know is that in past Call of Duties, your angle of impact affected the wall penetration damage. So if you shoot a wall straight on, like you're facing the wall, you shoot it, your damage would be like totally full, whatever it would be. And then if you go to the side, if you like try to shoot it at the wall at an angle, your damage would get decreased. That is not the same in this game. No matter what angle you shoot the wall at, it'll be the exact same damage reduction. I also tested all weapons and found out that if the weapon belongs to a class, it'll have the exact same penetration reduction. So basically the AK-117, AK-47, Type 25, all those ARs will have the exact same damage reduction when shooting through a wall. The exact same percentage, that is, of their total damage. And then damage is reduced the more walls/materials the bullets go through. So basically if you shoot through one person and then you shoot through another person and so on and so forth, the damage gets reduced more and more and more. There's also no damage reduction when you shoot through a teammate. So therefore the FMJ does not affect shooting through teammates. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the different materials. So the first one we're going to look at is light materials, and this is basically going to be most walls for houses and things like that. This is going to be just like wood, or it's kind of hard to explain because it's not exact. Some walls are actually like not, they look like they're made out of wood, but they don't fall under the light material category. So it is kind of confusing. It's going to be case to case, but this will help you kind of understand how different classes of weapons perform when trying to shoot through walls. So I'm going to go ahead and break down what you're seeing on your screen right now. So if you look at the left side where it says no FMJ, this is the percentage of the gun's damage that it'll do when it goes through a wall. So for LMGs, if you shoot someone and you did 100 damage, right, and then you try to shoot them through a wall, it'll do 72 damage through a light material. And then as you can tell, like I was saying before, snipers are the same, and then ARs are at 56% wall penetration, and then SMGs are 48%. So once again, this is the percentage of the gun's damage that it'll do when shooting someone through a wall. And then if you look at the middle where it says FMJ, this is going to be the exact same thing, except when your gun shoots through a wall and you have FMJ. So as you can tell, LMGs and snipers do 89% of their damage, and then ARs do 83%, and SMGs do 79%. And then if you look on the right where it says FMJ increase, basically this is going to say how much did FMJ increase your wall penetration. And as you can tell, SMGs get the most FMJ increase at 166%. And once again, just so you understand this, if you shot someone through a wall with a SMG and you did 100 damage, then if you used an FMJ, you do 166 damage, is basically what I'm saying with this. And no guns actually do that much damage, but just to help you understand, that was an example. So I did test all the SMGs, the ARs, LMGs, and snipers. So when I do group them up, I did test them all individually, just to make sure that there was no odd ones out. But yeah, so once again, this is with light materials, so like walls that are made out of wood and things like that. Just generally wood things are going to be light materials. The next one is semi-light materials. Now this is where it's a little bit weird because this is going to be like haystacks, I think bushes and like shrubbery and things like that. And the shrubbery is weird. For some reason with the shrubs, like if you shoot the shrub directly on, and when I say shrub, I mean like a bush. When you shoot a bush directly on, it won't penetrate it. But if you hit it at the side a little bit, you can actually shoot through the bushes. It's really weird. It seems like the hit like wall penetration and material penetration in this game isn't super consistent. But semi-light materials will be haystacks and bushes and things like that. There's a couple other ones, but once again, it's really hard to classify because the game doesn't really have like a set system. It just seems like the developers were like, yeah, let's just make this a semi-light, let's make this a light, let's make this a medium heavy. And by the way, the names that I'm giving them are just names that I decided to give them. I don't know the actual developer names, but the names that I did give them kind of help us understand the level of penetration that the materials have. So with these materials, actually SMGs can't even shoot through them. So you can't shoot through hay bales, you can't shoot through bushes, things like that. You just can't shoot through them with SMGs. And any SMG, I tested all of them, you can't shoot through any of them. But you can do it with ARs, snipers, and LMGs. And as you can tell, the damage percentage went down a little bit. Next up is medium materials. Now these will be walls with like bricks on it typically. There is a few walls with bricks that are weird, like one on Standoff was weird. But like on Nuketown, if you go into the garage, like the entrance from spawn to the garage on Nuketown, that wall right there is where I tested this the most. So this is one I'm definitely confident with, fits these percentages. So once again, this is the medium materials. All guns can shoot through it except for SMGs. All guns that can use FMJ, that is. And then obviously you can tell the FMJ and stuff increase. And this one's actually really big. The ARs actually get a massive buff from the FMJ here. So on these walls with no FMJ, you do 32% of your gun's damage with an AR. And then with an FMJ, you do 73%, which brings its FMJ increase, so how beneficial the FMJ is, to 230%, which is massive. And then lastly that I have recorded is heavy materials. Heavy materials are only wall bangable with LMGs and snipers. And for example, this will be like the sign at Nuketown. There is one place on Standoff, I think, that you can do it. I don't know for sure where that was. I think it was like the brick wall on Standoff. And I also want to note that heavy materials, like some concrete walls you can't wall bang and then some you can. Again, it's really weird. The developers didn't like make it super consistent with like real life. But it seems like most concrete walls you can't actually wall bang, but like some heavy, like I don't know. Again, it's really weird. You can't really eyeball it. You just gotta practice, and the more you play, the more you know, like, oh yeah, I can shoot through this and I can't shoot through that, things like that. But if a wall is wall bangable, then a LMG or sniper will be able to do it. And as you can tell, an FMJ has a very big increase on a gun's damage. It goes from 36% to 74%, which is a 204% increase. But yeah, so that is all the data that I actually was able to get. It took a long time to get that, and there's a lot of different testing that went into it. So basically my conclusion is that the FMJ is a very good attachment because you're going to be able to dish out a lot more damage if you're wall banging. That is, if you're wall banging. It kind of depends on the gun that you want to use and whether or not your playstyle is really to like try to shoot through walls, and it might depend on the map. There's a lot of things that kind of go into it. It's just personal preference really, but at least now you kind of understand how it works with different materials and what you can wall bang and all that. So in conclusion, it does seem like they kind of have it balanced, so the FMJ will be kind of beneficial to all classes of weapons. It just depends on what kind of walls you're shooting at. But the majority of walls will be light materials or medium materials, so like that brick or wood. And honestly, that's when the SMGs get the most benefit, is on like the wooden walls, and then the ARs get a lot of benefit on medium walls. So yeah, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I do want to give a massive thank you to our channel members, especially our mega members and above, which as you can see on our screen is Dopey Gaming, Red Zero, F77 Pro, OO, PUBG Master 327, and especially our ultimate fans, which are CBK Killer, PlayScout77 Twitter, and then our one level 9 million plus member Everchill YT. If you guys do want to get shouted out at the end of every video, you guys can see how on the screen. That channel membership does help me a ton and helps me put a lot of time into making thoughtful videos like this, which do take a lot of time. So channel members definitely do support videos like these a ton. But yeah, so with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you later. Peace.